As an extreme adventurer, life is all about experiencing places like...
Thank you, thank you! Oh, stop it, stop it.
In your face, sucker!
Oh, that's not what I wanted. Oh, come on. Oh, nasty people on a Monday. Oh, boy. I think we need a little good feel energy to get this Monday show rolling and to get your Monday. And what better guy to energize you than the one and only...
Loving
Being yourself is one of the most important things in the world.
Hold on.
Hi, it's Richard here.
You know who this guy is.
Let's put this baby to work.
Oh yeah. It's Richard Simmons. That's right. He's my co-host today. We're going to be talking why Richard Simmons is my co-host, and because I'm always ahead of the curve. I like to say I'm always one step ahead of society. They're over here, and I'm over here. I'm always just a little bit ahead, and that's what makes me special. Anyway, that's what my mom says. That's what makes you special. I'm special for many reasons, many of which I'm not proud of. Anyway, welcome to the Steve Squared Show. I'm your host, Funny Man Stevie K. Of course, alone, remote today. I am not totally alone. I do have Kermit, and I'll give you a full... Kermit's still hanging in there. The leaves are getting a little... Oh, this one is not good right here. We'll do the best we can. But it's a beautiful perch for my other co-host, Richard Simmons. And we'll talk a little Richard Simmons, and he's back in the news. I love when Richard Simmons is in the news, hence the headband, hence the good feel energy of today. Nobody's sweating it like Richard Simmons. And we could use a little heat because it is mucho frio outside. Actually, today wasn't awful. The weekend was Friday night, Saturday night. It was brutal. And of course, on the coldest day of the year, my nephew picked to get married. Hold on, let me give him a congrats. Do I have a congrats? We got to give my nephew a shout out for getting married. Okay. And I'll tell you what.
That was easy.
It wasn't that easy. It was, we're going to talk a little weddings because you know me. And everything gets my goat. Everything rubs me the wrong way. Everything starts an anger rant. I'm not a good feel person. I don't come out of things with a tissue. I mean, look, on one level, yes, it was nice to see my nephew. Of course you reminisce because you think that's my nephew. I mean, I know him since he was born. And so it's, he got married, and it's, you think of all the things that we did as, and I'll tell you the one thing that separates and what I always like, and I could sum up my relationship with my 3 nephews and niece this way. None of them call me uncle. Just not an ounce of respect. Just spit in your eye. No. I prefer that, and I like that. It's kind of the relationship that we have.
In your face, sucker!
No, that's not true. We're like, we've been so close for their whole lives. You know how you have an uncle or an aunt, and it's kind of, you see them at holidays, and it's, you shake their hand and kiss them, and it's usually awkward, and, we always have our favorite uncles and aunts and things like that we might be lucky enough to have. But they're always they always feel older, right? They always feel parental in nature. Where I think I've always tried to be more their, friend. We've always had a different dynamic, if you will. And so I always enjoy the fact that not once has any of them called me Uncle Steve, which is maybe a new name for the Steve Squared Show. Maybe that'll be a spin-off, the Uncle Steve Show. And I'll give sage advice to all the nephews and nieces out there. And I'll tell you this. They have Father's Day. They have Mother's Day. They have all kinds of days. They don't have Uncle's Day. And I might need to lobby for that because uncles and aunts play a significant role in the upbringing sometimes of the nieces and nephews. And it was hard. I was trying to, find... I was going to get a card that said nephew, but the card said to my nephew and his wife, and the woman he's marrying, and the other woman. the lady in the dress, just so cold. And I couldn't do that because, I wouldn't do that. He's marrying a lovely girl, Caitlin. So we welcome her to the family. She's wonderful, just wonderful. So it was a great ceremony, but I'll tell you, these things are just out of control. Now that I said all the niceties, let me get into what you really love about me. You don't love when I'm nice. You don't love when I'm sentimental. You love the venom, as Steve calls it. Steve always says I'm vinegar. I have a lot of I should have been an arsenic and old lace. I have a lot of arsenic, a lot of bitterness. You take a bite out of me and you go, ooh, ooh. I'm like a ginger snap cookie with extra molasses. Remember those? Oh, those were great. So anyway, what a scam! Oh my gosh, what a money making scam. It made me. I'm sorry, I'm writing something down that made me think of another wedding movies, because we're going to try to see how many movies you can think of that centered around a wedding. Tons, right? It's such a cliche story plot, the wedding, right? But I'll tell you, wow. You talk about extravagant. This was a pretty extravagant wedding, and I know there are crazy ones. People spend, and I have some information here that we'll go over, but you're talking $50,000, $100,000 when you're all said and done, when you add the honeymoon and all of this. Now, I told you, I had mentioned this previously. Oh, by the way, thanks for noticing. You don't even say anything. I got a haircut. I hadn't gotten a haircut in months, and here. Let me take the headband off. You can't really tell. We're not in the studio, but you can see it's a little bit of a haircut. So I was hoping to see Steve tonight and Tony and all the boys and girls and what have you, but it wasn't to be. Wait, now I messed up my headband. No, that goes down. This goes up. There you go. Everything's reversed on the computer, so it makes it very confusing. So anyway, it was, and of course, let's get to the problems I had right away. First of all, these weddings are so loud, and then you have to talk to people. I don't like to talk to people that I don't know. I'm not good at chit-chat. Some people are good at chit-chat. I don't... Hey, I'm so-and-so's brother's uncle. Really? Wow! Why is that wow? I don't know. That's the only thing I can think to say. No way! You're the uncle's brother? That's amazing! That's not amazing. That's stupid. Who cares? I don't care what the relation is. You're at the wedding. You must be something. I'm the bride's plumber. Yes, she invited me. I don't know why. Now I'm at an awkward table with weird people that I don't know. See, that's what I would do if I ever had a wedding, right? I would invite people just to have one table filled with just the most awkward people that had to go to a wedding. Like, I'd invite my mailman, my plumber, the guy that, got rid of our ants. Just put them all on a table and have them chit-chat, I believe is the phrase to use. Right, you have to say, oh, what are you doing? Where are you from? Where do you live? No, but you're not going to see these people the next day. It's okay. I'd like to just be honest and say, just keep walking. There must be somebody here that you do know you'd rather talk to than me. It's okay. It's okay. Because all that I'm going to use is what you say to me on Monday's show. So it's probably best that you move on and do not speak to me unless you want it broadcast on the Steve Squared Show. Because there's no privacy, as they say in the UK. No privacy. And I use that because we'll be getting on a little UK rant momentarily. But anyway, these weddings are crazy. Here, let me give you an example. Don't take my word for it. Never, ever take my word for it. Always go to the source. See, I don't just scream things. I like to back things up with facts. And here's a fact. Okay, let me show you the picture first. There's the picture, right? This is a couple, Valerie Manzo and Steve LaRose, I guess, right? You could get a good look at them. They look extremely happy, as any wedding couple should. Boy, I'll tell you, you're walking down the aisle, and all I could think of is walking the plank. It just has that feel, that last mile. And when you think there's more, you walk down this aisle, and here's where my mind lays, and why I'm a little bit off the curve than most people. Most people think of this as beautiful. It's wonderful. Walking down the aisle. I think of a pirate ship where they make you walk the plank. I think of death row, where you're walking past the cells to your final destination of a hanging or electric chair, whichever your choice of preference of execution might lie. But anyway, back to the Valerie Manzo and Steve, whoever. They were friends long before they fell in love. Isn't that sweet? The couple, both 26, attended Grand Avenue. Well, nobody cares about this. They attended middle school in Belmore, so these are childhood sweethearts, as they say. It says life took us in different directions, but they ended up at Nassau Community College. So the two dated for 6 years. Then he proposed to her at Jones Beach Field 6. You don't want to propose at Field 4. I'll tell you why. There's a high divorce rate when you get proposed at Field 4 as opposed to Field 6. Field 6 is where those marriages last. Because, Field 4 is a mess. It's the boardwalk with a lot of, vendors and food trucks. Nah. Anyway. Oh, it says we just fell in love, blah, blah, blah. Oh, my God. They invited 470 people. This is what I'm talking about. Nobody knows 470 people unless you're, Rihanna. And, what are you? Ariana Grande? You don't know 470 people. Stop just asking people that you don't even know. The guy that sits behind you, at your office, at your work office, that you borrowed a pencil from once. You don't have to ask him to the wedding and his wife just to try to get an extra $200. Come on. It's getting out of hand. They asked 470 people, 300 attended. This is ridiculous. All right. There were 24 people in their wedding party. This is stupid. Plus a ring bearer, a flower girl, and all the other nonsense. And it says, we both have really big families. And by the looks of them, they both are really, that's not a shock. I'm sorry. It's Richard Simmons Day, and I'm body shaming. Anyway, the wedding venue. The couple held their reception at Villa Lombardi's in Holbrook. Beautiful. Wine and dine. Oh my God. It said the couple spent... they spent $122,000, including the honeymoon. $122,000. They went to St. Lucia on the honeymoon. Okay, so let's back up for a second here. $122,000. If you took $122,000, take $100,000, spend $22,000 on the wedding, take $100,000, you roll that into any money market fund, a CD, something non-interest bearing, maybe a government bond. Roll that into a Roth IRA over maybe compounding annually for 10 to 15 years. You're going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars when it's all set. After 15 years, you'll have $1 million instead of this stupid wedding that nobody's going to remember with bad food and some chewy fish. Oh my God. $122K? It's terrible. It's ridiculous. Wait, come on. What else do these people do? It says here, what LaRose loves about his wife? Her consideration, support, and obviously bank account. It says here personality, though. And what Manzo loves about her husband, his consistency, what does that mean, consistency? His consistency? He's like clockwork. He wakes up every day. I love the consistency. Because you don't want to end up on Dateline. This couple's going to end up on Dateline. I know it for a fact. I know my mom's going to tell me, that couple you mentioned on your show, they're on Dateline. He butchered her, and they can't prove the murder. They found her, I'm telling you. His consistency, encouragement, and thoughtfulness. That's the best they can come up with. They live in Beige. This is terrible. But this is my point. It's getting out of control. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. And it says here, I'll leave you with one more. Let me leave you with one more. Just one more little wedding rant. It says, Dear Carolyn, my niece is getting married soon. I feel she is inconsiderate, that was quick, to some of her older guests. And I don't know how to or if I should bring it up. The shower was a few weeks ago at a brewery. It's the best place for a shower. It was loud and outdoors, and the food was all snacky bar food. Older guests seemed uncomfortable. The wedding sounds like it will be similar. It is at a state park, and it will be catered by food trucks. See, this is more my type of wedding. There you go. You get yourself an empanada food truck, and you just have it at a field 3 at some state park. This wedding cost $239. It says all these things are difficult to do. There'll be outdoor bathrooms? That doesn't sound good. Oh, boy. All these things are difficult to do when you are older or have mobility issues, which is true. My niece and her future husband are really great people. You know when you know the zig, that's the zig, now here comes the zag. I think they might not even realize this is an issue because young people often don't think about things like this. I want my mother and some of the older guests to enjoy themselves at this wedding, and I do not think they will without more accommodations. How do I bring this up to my niece in a way that preserves our relationship? Or do I just attend and try to help out the people I see who need help? It says that was signed anonymous. And she says, inconsiderate may be technically correct. She is not considering the needs of this. But packs an accusation that won't necessarily help. I also wonder at your standing here as her aunt or uncle and not a parent. If you are close to your niece, and if she has been asking for your input, then by all means, give it. Make your affection for the couple clear, as well as your understanding that people who don't need to think this way often don't. Then have actual ideas ready. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway. So anyway, I don't know. It's, she's saying, wait, what does Richard say?
Why wait another minute? You can do it!
That's true. So, yeah, like, I just feel like you should, that is a good point. You want to be considerate to all your guests and not have it at a pickleball court, or something like that. But, what are you going to do? I think these weddings and these things, that's what happens. It always leads to drama. Nobody's ever happy. There's just too much drama going on. It's just like somebody's feelings get hurt. They're not this, they're not that. It's just... By the way, I had the red snapper. It's delicious. I'm not a big fish person. So I said, hey, try this red snapper. When are you going to be out? Where I'm never in a place, really. I'm usually in my car. So it's really hard to enjoy a piece of red snapper when you're driving on the Southern State Parkway. So I said, you know what? Let's try a little red snapper. And it was very good. It was red snapper. It was delish. They had really... And here's the other thing. You remember the old-time weddings, the catering weddings? It would be, chicken, fish, or beef, something like that. Now they have, with the new millennials and the whole new thing, there's vegan choices, gluten-free choices. Everybody's got a dietary issue and this issue, so it's not your 3 choices. Now it's, there was like 10, 11, 12 choices on there. It was fantastic. Plus there's the cocktail hour, and then there's this and that, and, and drinking and things like that. Now I didn't engage in any kind of imbibing of anything like that. I was not drinking, things like that. I'm not a big champagne person either. I never liked the taste of the, gives you that type of thing like that. But you hold it up, you pretend because you're making a toast and things like that. And the speeches were pretty good. I know they could be a little bit, hard to swallow, but my nephew So my nephew got married. His younger brother was the best man, Mike Jared, who we've had on the show before, and he delivered. Man, he crushed it. Really good speech. Very, very good. And it was really, yeah, it was a great speech, as they say. So let me see. I'll give you a little sneak peek. Should I? Maybe I will. Trying to see if I could just give a sneak peek to the bride and groom. I'll do that. I don't like to get too... There we go. There they are. There's the happy couple. There's the happy couple. Right there. My nephew is the one on the right, or your left. And that is Caitlin. So, wonderful, wonderful, very nice. Now let me get back to my sound effects before I lose them. So anyway, it was a good wedding, good food, and so I should have handed out. Excuse me. Time for a Celsius break. I should have handed out my personal training card. It's a great place to hand out. I should have been networking more, handing out my training card, for my new Dumbbells movie. Speaking of fitness movies, now let's get to I see how I bring you the appetizer, just like I'm organizing the show like a wedding. I introduce myself. Now I'm bringing and the introductions get out of control too. They're like, and the bride, and the bride's family, and here's the bride's long lost cousin from Chicago, Eddie. It's just out of control. It's enough. This is not a Miley Cyrus concert, for God's sake. I mean, it's just a wedding. Come on. And then the stark realization hits, right? So my nephew's leaving tonight. In a half hour, his plane leaves for Thailand. Wow. And I've said this before. I'm going to text him. Be careful. I do not want to text that you are stuck in some Thai prison. You will not survive. I've spent many a time in a Thai prison. I've had bouts and moments there. You don't want to be there. You don't want to be getting, lashed in some kind of Thai prison somewhere. You're never going to get out. And that's going to be the next bit. My family has so much of me. Oh gosh, that's going to be the end of all ends. If I have to go to Thailand to get to help my nephew escape a Thai prison. It's a good thing I speak Thai. Anyway, Steve would roll his eyes at me. You can't do that. He always tells me what I can't do. He never tells me what I can do. Anyway, another great place in the Far East, Kathmandu. Anyway, so you might see Richard Simmons here. Why am I wearing a headband? Why the Richard Simmons? Blah blah blah. So, of course, like I said, I'm ahead. I've been talking about Richard Simmons for the past year. I dressed up like him at Halloween, you remember. I had the wig and everything. So here we go. The biopic has been in the works. They have a movie short. It's a 10-minute. I watched it. I'll give you my review. It's called The Court Jester. And it's a little 10-minute short of Richard Simmons, played by Pauly Shore. You know Pauly Shore, Jury Duty, Encino Man. Actually, his mother, Mitzi Shore, ran the comedy club, the big famous comedy club in California, in LA, where all the famous comics, the David Lettermans, the Jay Lenos, the Robin Williams, all of them went through that to get to, Adam Sandler's. There was actually an HBO show about that comedy club. That famous comedy club out in Cali. But anyway, so Pauly is playing. I don't know. He looks like him, I guess. Now, Richard Simmons came out with a Facebook post. I don't know if he posted this because he's been not in the public eye for years. They have been worried about him. Where is he? He just fell off the face of the planet. But a post he came out with and said, I have not authorized this biopic. I am not any part of it. I do not endorse it, and I would just like to live my life in peace and quiet. So he's not on board with this. But you can do it. They can make the movie. So watch the movie short. I watched it last night, and it's just just a 9-minute YouTube video, and now they're going to make a movie out of the Richard Simmons life. The short is called The Court Jester. It's a scene that Richard Simmons is on the Ellen Show, and that's really what the 9-minute short is. And he goes over and talks to one of the kids who's overweight, who's a producer on the show, and it's really the center of the 8-minute plot is being not seen, being invisible, and and Richard talks to the kid and says, "You're beautiful, you're wonderful, you're seen, you're a king, you're wonderful," and a little moment. I don't know if I love Pauly Shore playing Richard Simmons. I mean, he's doing it over the top, which Richard Simmons is over the top, so there really is no underplaying it. But, I tell you, when I wear the gear, I look a lot like Richard Simmons. I'm telling you, it's not... I didn't get a call from my agency that they were doing this. So, I'm just saying. Now, I've been, as you know, we're trying to pitch and get the Jack LaLanne story made. But that's been met with crossroads. Now, I can understand. I was thinking about it, and me and Steve were talking about it, and I do agree. The Richard Simmons is more of a character. He's more, going to put butts in the seats, as they say. People know the name Richard Simmons. Jack LaLanne's a little far back. He wasn't as commercially marketable, so to speak. He had his own TV show for 34 years, but he was a straight-laced guy, right? He talked fitness, and it was, that was it. And, he was a little eccentric, but not like Richard Simmons. Richard Simmons would come out in a duck suit on the David Letterman show, and, he had his gimmick of sweating to the oldies and the whole thing. So he really had a brand, right? Richard Simmons really had a brand, the sweating to the oldie brand. And he made a lot of money, I think, and I don't know where. I think he lives in L.A., but he's, just fell off the planet. He doesn't look good. One of the last pictures that he'd seen in public, he didn't look good. So he might just want to be left alone. Who knows? Don't we all, right? Don't you just want to be left alone? I understand what Richard is saying. Just leave me alone.
Yes!
So anyway, so that you're going to check out, right? So I already gave you some homework to do. Let's see what else we got on the docket. Do you know how Richard Simmons is actually 75 years old? He's 75 years old. And his real name is Milton Teagle Simmons. Milton Teagle Simmons. Milton. But Richard worked better, I guess. And he actually he had an enormous weight problem. Richard Simmons was like 300 pounds as a kid. He was originally from New Orleans, a lot of Southern cooking. Then he just, he just got up and moved to California, and he just tried to get into getting in shape, and he opened up a gym, like a little fitness center. And again, it's all about being at the right time at the right place. Gyms weren't like they are now. It would be hard to commercially become a Richard Simmons now. Back then, gyms weren't a normal thing like they are now, or on every block. Back then, it was the Jack LaLanne Health Club, or so to speak, and a Lucille Roberts, right? And most of the people went there. Lucille Roberts, women went there, and Jack LaLanne, everybody, all the mainstream people. And maybe you had a Gold's Gym where the real serious people went. Okay. Now you have New York sports clubs and Crunches and Spins and Orange Theories and Soul Cycles and every type, my kickboxing, and you just have hot yoga, cold yoga, frozen yogurt, whatever you have. You have all of these kind of things. And they're all fighting for your dollar. But back then, it wasn't like that. So Richard came and opened up his own little gym, and it was in Beverly Hills, which it's all about location. He understood. Very smart guy. I always admire the Richard Simmons, the Dolly Partons. They kind of come into our existence as these over-the-top, brainless, silliness, right? But then you're like, man, did they pull the wool over everybody else's eyes as they walk away with hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Because they're smart and they understand about an image and what sells, how to package it and deliver it. And those kind of people understand and they can do it. And they are laughing all the way to the bank. So, he opened up this gym, and the rest is history. He caught on, and then he started getting it marketable as a thing. This sweat into the oldies kind of made some videos, and it became obviously hugely popular. And again, videos were popular then. Can't make a video now. You'd have to make a TikTok video. Nobody would see because it's flooded with people on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. But anyway. I'm very excited. I saw on HBO there's another British show. There was The Crown. There was Succession. And next up, Regime. So it's all these stupid shows based upon the monarchy. The monarch. The crown. They're all the same show with a different title and the same people. The same Judi Dench and Kate Winslet. It's enough already. I don't want to see Judi Dench and Kate Winslet go at all. It's not at all. I don't understand what is people's fascination with this? How does that crap sell? I'm sick of it. Stop. HBO is in love with some British stupid shows. With these monarchy crap. Oh my God. It's enough already. I'm just like.
No.
This is what I think of them. Anyway. So back to, hey, can you name any wedding movies? I was thinking about weddings and, because of this weekend and was in a little bit of a wedding mood. And I was thinking of wedding movies. Did you have any favorites? Now, I have a favorite. I actually have two. Obviously, I love Hangover, right? The Hangover movie. And that's not really it's a wedding movie, but it's more about they have the bachelor party and then but it's somewhat centered, not really around a wedding, so that's a stretch. But Hangover, Bradley Cooper, Jason Sudeikis, it's very funny. It's Ed Helms, I'm sorry. And of course, Zach Galifianakis. If you don't know who Zach Galifianakis is, shame on you. But watch Between Two Ferns. It's hysterical. He has every big star on, and he just kind of mocks them. It's funny. Who else? As for on the other side, I love Bridesmaids. Kristen Wiig, very funny. Even though Maya Rudolph is in it, who I can't stand, it's funny. It's very good. I think Alison Brie is in it. Is it Alison Brie? No, it's not. Don't quote me. But definitely Kristen Wiig. It's very funny. Definitely watch it. And then I was thinking of some others. Can you name any movies that you like that are centered around a wedding? Well, of course, there's Jennifer Lopez and Matthew McConaughey in... I'm not going to tell you. The Wedding Planner. Of course, The Wedding Planner. Now, my brother was telling me that my nephew had a wedding assistant and the bride. Like somebody that just stayed by them all day, getting their every want and need. I need somebody like that in my life. Forget about a wedding. I need an assistant with me all the time. Night and day and night. Anyway, so The Wedding Planner, it's a cute movie, very rom-com-y, very blecky, but it was, whatever. Of course, My Big Fat Greek Wedding. It was funny, you know. It centers around obviously a Greek wedding, you know, the Greek Orthodox way that they family life. So that was okay. Um, Bride Wars, Bride Wars with Kate Hudson, Goldie Hawn's daughter, and that was pretty funny. If Kate Hudson and the other girl, not Rachel McAdams and not Jennifer Gardner, but the other one. There's like three of them, and I'm at a loss. But Kate Hudson's in it, and it's actually it's pretty funny. It's you know, the two of them are supposed to get their whole lives dreaming about getting married. It's such an interesting thing. It's just the way we center around this. Now, I was talking to my brother-in-law, and he says these big weddings are really a Long Island thing. It's not really done so much across the country. It's a very Long Island thing where you give cash or you give your money. Everybody has to give them an envelope. And, boy, what's the right amount? How do you write the name? We were having discussions, my family, about figuring out how the appropriate way to write the check out is. You know, it's very, very disconcerting. But what other movies were there? There's My Best Friend's Wedding with Julia Roberts. That's so corny. That was another corny movie. My Best Friend's Wedding, and that's with Julia Roberts. So there's, you know, and I'm sure there's many others. There's tons of wedding movies because it's such a relatable plot that sells. You know, everybody loves a wedding. So, unless you compare it to the death row like I did, well, that's so bad. I mean, you know, I always go to extremes. There's no middle ground for me. I'm either off the plank or not. There's no walking the plank. There's no middle ground for me. Anyway. Let's see. I had something else to share with you people. Oh my gosh, this is really exciting. Do you guys remember watching this guy? Captain Kangaroo. Remembering Captain Kangaroo. Why are we remembering Captain Kangaroo? Okay. It's just a look back, played by Bob Keeshan. He was actually, now let me see here. Let me give you the quick facts about Captain Kangaroo. His show premiered October 3rd, 1955. The same day as the Mickey Mouse Club. Captain Kangaroo premiered the same day as the Mickey Mouse Club. Fantastic. Guests who appeared on the show include Carol Channing, the Pearl, Earl the Pearl Monroe. This is over years. Marlo Thomas. Very good. It remains the longest running children's series on U.S. commercial television, PBS, HBO. Well, what about Sesame Street? Sesame Street is the overall longest running show. This is U.S. commercial. Okay, they had to put some caveats on it to make it sound better than it is. The shows. Do you remember the title song? It says the memorable title song, but I don't remember it. Puffin' Billy. Puffin' Billy. Now, he grew up. I think he's from Long Island, if I'm not mistaken. I think this guy is from Long Island. Let me see. Steve, see, this is where you need Steve. Steve would know everything about this guy's life. But anyway, the Captain Kangaroo, boy, I used to like, yes, here it is. He grew up in Babylon. The Bob Keeshan would take the 4:20 a.m. train from Babylon to the show every day. Penn Station, Babylon to Penn Station, 4:20 a.m., and boy, I mean, imagine if you see this at 4:20 in the morning on the train. How'd you like to be walking on the train like this, half asleep, and see Captain Kangaroo? You'd be like this. It'd be one of these. Oh my gosh.
Yes!
Captain Kangaroo. Now, he wasn't an official captain. That's not a military title or anything. It's not like he, garnered that. I don't know where he was the captain of. Kind of like the same way as Captain Tennille. Captain Tennille. Captain, they're just captains by name only, not by rank. But I liked that show. I remember it. It wasn't one of my favorites as a child, but I do remember it vaguely, watching it, of course, in syndication. I wasn't around in the 50s. But the show ran forever, so yeah, it was around when I was a child. But it was interesting. It was kind of a long. You could have those shows, right? The Mr. Rogers, the Captain Kangaroo. There was a lot of these shows that had these interesting characters host, and as a child you were mesmerized, and they were very, scholarly or taught, or whatever way they had about it that drew you in as a child. You don't see a lot of shows like that for kids anymore. I mean, I don't watch children's TV, but there is no more Captain Kangaroos. There is no Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. There is no more of those kind of shows, where you had somebody, even Romper Rooms, or, of course, Sesame Street still goes on, but it's really not the same. The landscape is a lot different because children are a lot more sophisticated. By the time they're that age, they're already on their cell phones watching, best twerk videos on TikTok. So they're not as innocent to watch someone with a giant bow tie and have a sidekick pal, and it's kids are way past that, and it's sad because it's you're always gonna you only have a couple of years to be into that Santa, Captain Kangaroo, that kind of imaginary fantasia, I call it, of imagination, of looking at these people as real characters and really, interesting characters to head these shows. They don't really have that anymore. Too bad. But he was. I used to like Captain Kangaroo, and I can't. I'm gonna have to look up that song because I can't. Steve would probably sing the whole song word verbatim. You know that. If Steve calls in, which he might. Did you hear about this Long Islander that won $4.2 million in a scratch-off? I can't win $2 in a scratch-off. I buy scratch-offs for me and my dad all the time. We never win. My dad always looks at me and goes, "Did we win?" I said, "Dad, no." Don't even ask. We didn't win. This guy, this numbskull, won $4.2 million in a scratch-off. A Brentwood man hit it big. It was a $20 scratch-off. That's the problem. I'm buying dollar scratch-offs. This guy bought a $20 holiday season. He got the jackpot of $10,000 a week for life. But he elected to take the payout, as most would. It was a one-time payout of $4,224,667 after taxes. The ticket was purchased at a 7-Eleven in Brentwood. Now, I believe the owner of the store also gets something. I don't know why. Officials did not say when the ticket was purchased or when he came to collect the prize. That's amazing. Wow. What would you choose? Of course, everybody, I would think, would choose the payout. Because my luck, I would choose $10,000 a week for life and be hit by a bus the next week. That would happen. I'd rather get the $4.2 million, blow it all in a week, and then go back to my life and then get hit by a bus. But, we can't plan our destinies. But, man, oh man, I'm going to go to Brentwood now. I knew I should hang out in Brentwood. I'm wasting my time in Nassau County. Brentwood is where the millionaires hang out. And that's the millionaire capital of the Long Island. So, good for him. 7-Eleven. It's unbelievable. You hear all these stories, and could you imagine? You're just living your life, ordinary, gas, bills, problems, and just one little scratch, and your whole life is changed forever. And your family, because, if you're kind and you want to, and again, $4 million is not what it used to be. I mean, what could you do with that? I would blow through that in a weekend. Let's be honest. But if you weren't me and you were someone that was sensible and, could handle money, again, it's all about, don't blow it on a wedding. Invest it, do the right thing, and you should be able to live comfortably. You're not going to buy the home that Alec Baldwin's putting up for sale to help for his court cases. Did you hear he's selling his Hampton home for $19.5 million? Yeah, it's out in Southampton, I think. He's got this big estate, and it's coincidentally up for sale right in time for the indictment of Alec Baldwin. So obviously he's trying to put cash together for the big defense. Which is sad. I mean, it was a terrible thing. People make fun of it, but look, someone died. It was terrible, and I talk about this. We've talked about this. I don't know all of the specifics unless you're on the set and know what happened. So to speculate is kind of ridiculous, like they all do. The king of news is speculation, right? They always have these panels on. Nobody knows what happened, but it shouldn't have. I've been on sets before. I've done many sets where you use, fake knives, things, obstacles, whatever you're using, and everything is tested. And even at my level, which is not on a professional level like he is, and you're talking about guns or something, you've got, that should be checked, and you don't want to have an accident like this, and it's odd, strange, and senseless. I always love that when they say, that was such a senseless death. It doesn't make sense. I like death that makes sense. Not senseless. Give me something I could wrap my arms around. I want to know that this makes sense. Yes, that's the way to die. That makes sense. I'm okay with that. But getting shot by accident by Alec Baldwin on a bad movie set? No, that doesn't happen. Especially a movie like that's going to get a Rotten Tomato score of under 40%. Let's be honest. You're going to get killed, it better be on like a big Oscar award winning movie. Because then you're at the Academy Awards, they give you a little memoriam, maybe Adele sings to you. That's got some gravitas under it. This is a terrible movie. It's going to go right to streaming. It's terrible. I don't know what he's thinking of. Hey, need a little sunshine? We all need a little sunshine in our lives. Let me tell you where to go. You can go straight. Here's top cities for a sunny, cheap, inexpensive little getaway. I'm going to share this with you. Because we all want to get a little, and this is a great time for a little, like a week, just to recharge the batteries, right? It's the winter doldrums. It's January, the cold, dark winter is now, you're just engrossed in it. You still have another month of February to go, and not to mention it's leap year, so they added an extra freaking day. It's just, I wish they could do that in the summer, right? Add an extra week in the summer, not an extra day in the winter, for God's sake. Who's playing with these calendars, those freaking Aztecs? Those are the ones that I got to talk about. It's the Gregorian calendar, people. Anyway, where do we go? All right, here's some, it says here, Las Vegas. Does it give them an amount? Okay, it says you can go a 3-day hotel stay. 3-day hotel stay plus a 2 round-trip airline tickets will run you just over $600 from New York airports. That's not bad. And you could even get to Las Vegas from MacArthur Airport. So that's not bad. That gives you plenty of spending money to blow at the hotel, at the casino. The kids' college funds, maybe their dentist money. Blow it all at the blackjack and craps table. That's what you should do. Let's go somewhere else. Miami. Miami talks about, you can go to Miami, beautiful weather, and it says here again, 2 round-trip airline tickets for a 3-night stay at a hotel, not just on the beach. In early February, $440. That's 1 night stay in an average Manhattan hotel. What else we got for you? Where else would you like to go? Los Angeles. Same thing, 3-night stay, 2 airline round trip, $600. Wow. Tampa, Florida, less than $500. Same thing. These are all 3-night stay and 2 airline round trip tickets. Lake Charles, Louisiana. Woo! Temperature there is beautiful, always 71 to 75 degrees. It's sunny 72% of the time, beautiful. And it says here, you got golf courses. Lake Charles, also home to the Creole Nature Trail, scenic, beautiful. Doesn't give a cost here, but it does say it's one of the most affordable. Sacramento, California. I know it's a very expensive city, and I was surprised to see they're on this list. They're a little more expensive, $700, but still for 3 nights and 2 airline tickets. So it's just a couple places. So the couple of places that talk about Las Vegas, Tampa, Sacramento, Phoenix, Miami. It's a little winter, Lake Charles, Louisiana, a little winter travel, like a little getaway, a little get up and get away. Or you could do what I do, and you could just run your hands under hot water, burning hot water when you come in from outside, and do that for 10 minutes, and cry in the mirror, and say, why am I here? Why am I here? I don't know why. Let's see what else I want to share with you. So much to share in so little time. This I thought was a cute story, and I'll share this with you. So they have, you know how I love the retro paper, and the retro Newsday came out, and this is January 9th, 1970. January 9th, 5 cents. It was a Friday. This is and it says here, look at this. Look at the headline. Long Island Railroad seeks hike of 20 cents a ride. Whoa! If you have not taken the railroad and you have not traveled, let me tell you how much a ride is today, 2024. One way, off-peak, from, say, Massapequa Park into Penn Station, what would you guess? Off-peak, you're looking at $12. It's ridiculous. Peak is going to be even more. It's just ridiculous. 20 cents. And that was a big to-do, right? A big hubba-lubub. But there was a cute thing, I thought, and this is 1970, and this is, you know me, I like to tie things together, if I can. Oh, so this is it. So I'm looking at the sports, right? And it talks, and it shows here, it's got a little, in the sports, the local sports, and there's you can see it says, you see the guy in the middle, and it says, Patino holds his own now regardless of the opponent. And it's a little article on a certain young player attending St. Dominic's High School as a junior, and his name is Rich Patino. And it talks about how he's listening to his coach, and he's really coming into his own as a player. And he hopes one day to either pursue a career in law, or he might even be interested in pursuing a career coaching basketball, because he loves it so much, but doesn't know if he could play on the big-time level. 1970. Let's fast forward, shall we? A mere 54 years. It's nothing. 54 years. And on the back page of Newsday is that same kid screaming on the top of his lungs at his St. John's Red Storm in Madison Square Garden. Rick Pitino. And of course we know and love Rick Pitino, who used to coach the Knicks. But it's an amazing story. I'm looking at this, and they call him Rich Pitino, and you know, he's this scrawny little kid, a junior at St. Dominic's High School. That's pursuing your dream and pursuing a goal and achieving it. All while, I'm sure, having a plethora of ulcers and stomach conditions. But way better than becoming a lawyer. I mean, this is way better. It talks about, it says here, Patino urges St. John's to bring up the intensity before its matchup with Marquette, which it unfortunately lost. And it just lost a really tough game against Creighton I was watching with my dad. But I just thought that was a cute story. I mean, you see how I put things together? It's like that memory game, you know, where you flip up the face and then you're like, I know I saw that somewhere else. Oh, there it is. And you match them. This is what I do. It's what I do. I put things together. I pick them up, I lift them apart. Anyway, you know, maybe you don't appreciate it, but I appreciate it. I almost appreciate that 20 cents hike as well. Oh my gosh. It's terrible. Rick Pitino. Trying to think if there's anything. This kind of irked me a little bit. And this is all about people. And it's not an irk per se. This is not, I don't want to talk about this story. Stupid story. It's not even worth your time. It's not, I don't want to waste your time. Your time is valuable. I respect it, and that's how much I respect it is. That story is not even worth your time. This is worth your time. Tell engaged friend her fiance is awful. Back to the wedding thing. We started with it, let's close with it. And I'll tell you why I enjoyed this. It says, my friend Mia recently got engaged. She and that guy, Steve, have been together for some time now, and she's been wanting to get married forever, for a long time. However, Steve is terrible. Picking on poor Steve. None of her close friends like Steve. I don't know why they have to keep using his name. I find it very offensive. Or her close friends like him or think he's right for her. 2 examples. I love how she gives examples of many. Mia always wanted kids, but Steve didn't. I like this guy. I like the cut of his jib. I like him already. All of a sudden, she changed her mind about it. So she wants kids, he doesn't. That makes him awful. He also drinks and does drugs. So he likes to have fun. Why are you picking on this guy? Mostly party drugs. I'm not sure what that means. It's in parentheses. It says mostly party drugs. I mean, are there any other kind? Aren't they all party drugs? Well, she's a homebody. And we recently learned she dropped acid with him because he was pushing her to. Well, if he told her to jump off a bridge, would she? It's all about being your own voice and your own person. That doesn't show a lot about her character, does it? You shouldn't be able to just go along. I don't. If someone told me to drop acid, I don't think I would. I prefer Celsius to dropping acid. And it gives you the same kick anyway. Maybe we'll do that next week on the show. We'll drop acid and then I'll drink a Celsius. I'll make Steve drop acid and I'll have a Celsius. We'll see which one is more interesting. He dims her sparkle. That's, let's be honest. You got that out of that you got out of a Kurt Vonnegut, passage. That's not. No. That seems very poetic. And everyone except her sees that. It's gotten to the point where we have started not inviting her to certain things because we knew Steve would be there. Who is that Steve? He's everywhere. Steve doesn't even seem to be excited about their engagement, let alone the wedding. Well, why not? It's going to drop. I'm sure it's a wedding where he's not going to be allowed to drop acid. And it's probably going to run him about $200,000 for this Mia's wedding. Her oldest and best friend once questioned the relationship, and Mia said that if Steve ever left her, she'd die. Good for Mia. As a group, all of her girlfriends wanted to tell her that this guy sucks, and she could do so much better. First of all, let me tell you something. You can never do better than a Steve. So just take it easy, all right? But we also know her well enough to know we could easily lose her friendship. How do we choose between telling our feelings and risking our friendship? Conflicted. It says here, Amy, or Carolyn here, says, preserving your friendship is important. but it's much less of a worry than preserving Mia. For all the red flags around Steve, Mia's to die is way more alarming. Maybe hyperbolic is her thing. You're better able to put it in context than I am, but we have that statement plus a decent case for Steve's awfulness. Right away, Steve's convicted. You see how you could just have somebody, you just run around, he drops acid, does drugs, all of a sudden he's a bad person. Come on, stop it. Plus we have her bending to Steve's will on things like whatever. Anyway, you get the point. This is my problem. I think this is the problem. When someone's getting married, friends don't like to have someone cut in on their little clique. So right away they start, making things bigger than they are. Right? I mean, really. If you like to relax after a hard day of work and do a little bit of lines of cocaine, with a little bit of acid, that's Steve's prerogative. Nothing wrong with that. A hard day of work, you come home. He's not telling her she can't enjoy it, Right away, Steve's a bad guy.
Let's get up and sweat and shout.
Poor Steve. I'm just saying. Anyway. Excuse me. So, to close up, don't listen to people's friends. But this is what, obviously I'm being a little bit sarcastic and sardonic. The point I'm trying to make is that this happens on a real lesser level because friends always don't like someone to cut in on their thing, like they enjoy their friendship time and all of a sudden the person's getting married and they pay more. You're always going to do that, right? You're going to pay more attention to your spouse and to that wedding thing, and friends always, if you want to know what I'm talking about, watch Bridesmaids with Maya Rudolph and Kristen Wiig. Or if you want to, or Bride Wars, or, those can really give you a good indication of the example of, friends interfering in weddings and things like that. I can't think of any other, there's so many wedding movies, and I was going to Google it, but I wanted you to think of some. I'm always doing all the work on this show. I want you to please help me out. Help me help you, as they say. Anyway, it's 7:33. And we've made it. We got through another show on January 22, this Monday, 2024. And there is a light at the tunnel because I looked at the upcoming week's forecast, and temperatures are going to get up there, going to get into the 50s. So that is a little promising. There'll be rain, but I don't mind rain as long as the temperature is in the 50s. That's way better. And it looks good up until February. So then you're almost, once you get, to me, when you get through January, such a long 31-day month, February, even though they illegally tacked an extra day onto February, it's still, the next month is March. And once March comes along, you're home free. Your spring is now coming, and you're home. It's the January month is the really toughest one to navigate because it's right after the holidays. There's no real major holidays in January, like long days or things. It's just day after day of hell, dark hell. February, maybe a little Groundhog's Day mixes it up. Lincoln's birthday, Washington's birthday. I have a plethora of birthdays coming up in February. There's my mom, my nephew, my sister, my niece. But I get you back in March. So, anyway, check out, I gave you a lot of homework. Check out the Richard Simmons short with Pauly Shore, The Court Jester. It's on YouTube. I want you to do that. What else homework do I have? I was going to, there was a little Yankee thing here, but I want to save that when I'm with Steve and Tony, because I think that'll be funnier. We did pretty good. I want you, there was one, I wanted to talk a little Amanda Bynes. I didn't get to her. I really like her as an actress, and she had fell off, another one that just fell out of the world of acting. She was so good in Hairspray and in Sydney White and in so many other funny movies. She's all that. But I recently saw some posts of her, and she's got a whole face changed. Like, it doesn't even look like her anymore. Look up Amanda Bynes, and we'll talk about her next week and what happened to her. Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful, safe, last and final week of January. I think next week will still be, it'll be the 29th, so we will have one more January show on the docket. But thanks for spending a little time, as always. Never, and here's a little piece of advice. All kidding aside, never date or marry a guy named Steve. You're just asking for trouble. I know firsthand, I wouldn't want to date or marry me. It's a problem. Steve's, they're just innately filled with venom, vinegar, and arsenic. I'm telling you, if you don't believe me...
In your face, sucker!
Anyway, so for myself, for Richard Simmons, for Kermit, and the rest of the cast that didn't show up for the Steve Squared Show, I'm your host, Funny Man Stevie K. Check out my Instagram, Stephen R. Kaminsky, for all the greatest and latest little sound bites on my upcoming sitcom Dumbbells. And let's get that Jack LaLanne movie made, huh? They're doing Richard. Do Jack, too, while you're at it. 2 for the price of 1. 2 fitness icons. Why not? Have a great week. A great, wonderful, safe week to all of you. Thanks to all my friends and family for all watching the show. We'll see you next Monday at 6:30 on the Steve Squared Show. Have a great